What's going on, everybody? Spike Dash here with you, along with my co-owner, Nate Hettinger. We are live, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. It is the week number 2 preview for the Fantasy Football Stock Report for 2018. Apologies again for not doing a video for week 1. Time was really tight, so that's why I did the Facebook notes that I linked on my Twitter page. So hopefully you took advantage of that and got a victory in week 1. Unfortunately for us, not exactly a prime start to the season. I mean, not a complete disaster of a week. We did score 82 points, but it was not enough to get the W.
What was it, like 82 to
103 to 82. Yeah. It is a trouncing. Yeah, it is a trouncing. Some of our guys did great, but the other half did not, so made a lot of changes to hopefully be better for the long haul and for the weeks going forward. So,
I'm talking about you, Saints D.
Yeah, Saints defense. Gosh, that
would have helped.
Yeah, they were just pathetic to put up nothing, a 0, nothing. And Tampa Bay to do that with a backup quarterback. But it happened. And Chris Hogan was a disappointment, and Doyle was a disappointment. So, and both our quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, the Lions. I don't know. There's a lot to get to. There's a lot to talk about because the early part of the season with no teams on byes, everybody plays. So there's a lot to break down, a lot to get to. But we are hoping this week to get you guys, along with us, to a win here in week number 2. So a lot to get to. Let's go ahead and dive right into it.
Thankfully, the divisional round, the first week was kind of crap for our division all around.
Yes, it was. And it's tough because at least in our league, and I don't know how everyone else's league works, but at least in our league, we play the first 3 games against your division, and then you play everyone else one time, and then your last 3 are also divisional. So that can play a big role, potentially, whether you make the postseason or not, potentially. So
4 teams in our division, 2 are 1-0 and 2 are 0-1. So.
Right, and the good thing for us is the 0-1s, which is us and the other guys, Silly Smeagol's, that we play this week, are 0-1, then 1-0s are playing each other. So in the end, you're going to have one team 2-0, 2 teams at 1-1, and then one at 0-2. So hopefully that 0-2 will not be us, because that would suck.
That would pretty much tank our season right there. Because you have to, in our league, you almost have to win.
Yes.
The division.
Yeah, you have to.
I'd say they are the most.
They're the most important. Yes, yeah.
Because if you don't, like say you go 0-3 in your division, they own the tiebreaker at the end of the season.
Yeah,
so
you're likely not.
No,
you're likely not making the postseason.
Start 0-3.
Now we've never started 0-3.
Oh God, I hope.
Yeah, we've never. Here's the funny thing. I've never started either one end of the spectrum or not. We've never started 3-0. We've never started 0-3. It's either been 2-1 or 1-2. So it's it's one or the other. It's always weird.
Well, I honestly don't think we'll do 1-2. I mean, dude that we're playing this week, Silly Smeagol, starting a backup running back
in Frank Gore, who, nice that he's a Dolphin, but he's not the starter. That's Kenyon Drake.
And then he's also got another running back.
It was in a timeshare, Alfred Morris in San Francisco, and because they lost McKinnon for the season with a torn ACL, but he's sharing the time with Matt Breida. So his backs are nothing special. So here's the hoping. Otherwise we match up with them either better or about the same. So it should be hopefully a good week for us. Baltimore-Cincinnati kicks off the week tomorrow night. Divisional matchup. Speaking of divisional games, division rivalry. Always fun when these two get together. The Ravens, of course, just flat out destroyed the Bills last week, 47-3. The Bills are probably going to be the worst team in the league this year because they really have nobody in terms of talent outside of LaShawn McCoy. The Ravens took full advantage of that. And the Bengals came back to beat the Colts last week, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Doyle.
Yeah, Doyle blew the game. Doyle, and the funny thing about Doyle, Doyle was invisible like all the first half because they're throwing Ebron, who likely now stole his job, and then Doyle gets targeted late and then fumbles the game away. And
he's running for a touchdown and then fumbles. And the guy returns it for a touchdown. So I don't know how close to the end zone Doyle was.
I'd say about the 10-yard line.
Oh wow!
So he was close.
I didn't watch the Colts.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Happy wife, happy life.
Right.
All you married people, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
My wife scares me, so if I don't do what she says, it's like, yes, honey.
Yeah.
You're right, dear. Yes, honey, and you're right, dear, are the two main phrases that are going to keep any new husband happy.
Right,
Trust
exactly.
Me, I know you're not married, but take my advice.
Of course.
Make your wife happy.
Yeah.
Mama ain't happy.
Exactly.
And I always thought it was a joke until I got married. That's
not a joke anymore, is it? No. So what is going to happen when these two rivals tangle in prime time? Usually a pretty exciting football game. Your obvious starts for the Ravens, one of our guys, Alex Collins. I'm not panicking yet on Alex Collins. Even though he only had 5 fantasy points last week, I'm not worried about him yet. He's still going to get the majority of the touches. The only reason really he didn't get a lot of work late was because of the fact that, A, the Ravens had the big lead, and B, he did fumble at one point, and John Harbaugh does not like fumbling, so he got put in the doghouse for a bit, but then came back later. So Collins is going to be fine. Plus, Kenneth Dixon today was placed on injured reserve. I believe it's a knee injury, so he is done for the year. So, yeah, so that's going to be helping Collins going forward. And besides, the only other back they have is Buck Allen, and I think you can use him mainly in PPR leagues. But Collins is still going to get Allen's. Oh my gosh!
Flipper number 1.
Allen's.
Collins.
Alex plus Collins equals Allen's. Okay.
Blooper number 1.
I can't believe I just did that. Yeah. Collins is still going to get the majority of the work. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I did. My name's Alex Allens. Yeah, huh? I play for Baltimore. Oh, the Panthers are monitoring the hurricane too. Yeah. 22 college football games have already been affected by Hurricane Florence, either canceled or postponed, and now the Panthers are monitoring it. I can't say I'm surprised at that.
No.
This thing is going to be a monster. It's category 3 now, and people might think, oh, it got downgraded from 4 to 3. That's okay. Well, no, it's still packing over 100-mile-an-hour winds, and there's going to be life-threatening storm surge and flooding. So I've already tweeted this out. It's on my Twitter, on my handle. Carolina, stay safe. Stay safe to everyone who's affected by the storm.
And I follow a couple channels out there.
Yes.
Get behind a camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and even though Carolina's on the road this week in Atlanta, and we'll talk about that the next game, but still, if they can't travel, if they can't travel,
Georgia might be.
They might get a little bit of it. Yeah. So
I don't know if it'll go so far as Atlanta.
Right.
Because I believe, and here I am, possibly looking stupid, but isn't Atlanta in the middle of the state?
Yeah, it kind of is.
It's not a coastal.
No, it's not a coast. No, it's not a coastal. No.
So.
But
they're going to get some remnants at that most.
But North Carolina, South Carolina, the Carolinas, Virginia potentially, they're going to get the hardest hit for sure. So, yeah, definitely major situation there.
And if anybody's in Charleston, get the heck out of there.
Charleston, Wilmington. Wilmington's going to get the eye wall first. So that's going to be the hardest hit areas.
Somerville.
Yeah, the Charlotte area. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
so,
Charlotte.
Yep. Raleigh might get a little bit.
I have family in Charlotte, so that's a little
okay. Yeah.
Danny.
Yeah.
Danny and
Yeah. So.
But anyways, yeah.
So we just saw that and had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
But also for the Ravens with Collins, Allen, also Michael Crabtree, Flacco's number one go-to receiver, had a touchdown last week. He's an obvious start as well. For the Bengals, you got to start their main weapons. Joe Mixon at running back had a great game against the Colts last week. You want to keep going with him. AJ Green, obviously, Andy Dalton's top weapon at wide receiver, and Tyler Eifert. As long as he's healthy, take advantage of him. He's definitely one of the better tight ends in the league.
Yes,
you want to keep rolling with him as well.
Tyler Eifert's ever been good.
Ever. Eifert ever.
Yeah. Eifert has always been good.
Eifert?
There's
2 in a row. Eifert. Put the T on the end of his name.
Eifert. That just sounds like I fart.
I fart.
I say that as he's taking a drink.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, that's when he has a bad fantasy day. You can call him Tyler I fart. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Starts though. One of our guys who got off waivers this week, Joe Flacco. I think we're riding confidently on him for this matchup. Not only because it's on Thursday night, but because we have Collins already, so we're pairing him with Collins for a little stack as well. But Flacco has always been pretty consistent and maybe not elite by any stretch, but had 3 touchdowns last week against Buffalo. Granted, it was Buffalo, but solid as they come. Andrew Luck took advantage multiple times last week against Cincinnati secondary. Looked really, really good. So to me, normally a QB2 at best, but I tell you what, QB1 upside is certainly there in this matchup, especially after throwing 3 touchdowns last week.
And what's Fitzpatrick's first name?
Ryan.
Yes, and then we were starting Ryan Fitzpatrick.
A.K.A. Fitzmagic.
Fitzpatrick, but they're playing Philly, and even though Philly's not at home, we'll get to that. Even though Philly's on the road, I still don't like that.
And
plus we already have Collins, and we want to try to get.
It was a hot debate session this morning. Let's just say, as in intense, not something else.
Yeah, just like,
that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
Stop. People are gonna think we're weird.
That's not what I meant.
This ring says I'm married and not.
I know, exactly. Yeah.
Ugh.
When I even go down that road.
Nope.
It was an intense debate session. That's a better word. There we go.
It was very strenuous.
It was. It was. Back and forth. Yeah. Like, who would we go with?
Starting Flacco over Fitzpatrick did drop us by 3 points. We were 10.
We were 10-point favorites. Now we're 7.
But Flacco has the better
matchup. Yeah.
And I also said, even though Flacco is 3 points down from Fitzpatrick, if we paired Collins with Fitzpatrick, hopefully.
You mean Collins with Flacco?
Collins.
Drink more.
I guess so. If we start Collins with Flacco,
yes.
Hopefully Collins will be able to make up that
3-point deficit.
Plus, we're getting off to, I think, a better start pairing the two.
Yes, that was, I think, key to sway me because we have 2 players Thursday night. Our opponent has none. Yes. All his are on Sunday. If we can get off to a really good start
for Friday,
that will set the foundation for Sunday.
Hopefully we'll be going into Sunday with
a healthy lead. Yes,
with more of a lead with Flacco
and Collins
both.
Yes.
Quarterbacks, I know, don't score points as easy as anybody else. They're 1 point for every 25
yards.
25 yards, and the wide receivers and
quarterbacks mostly get their points from touchdowns, from the touchdown passes. Yes. That's the big thing. So,
and then who knows? I know Collins is a
running
back.
Yeah,
but who knows?
But he had a touchdown last week.
And I don't know how good of a catcher Collins is. But say you're on the line and Flacco throws to Collins, that's basically
he's normally not the passing down back. That's usually Allen, but who knows? I mean, Chicago last week, they kind of did something different. I don't know if you noticed this on the game we were watching against Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Howard normally is their main down back, Jordan Howard, and then Tariq Cohen is usually their passing down guy. Well, they were throwing to Howard a lot more, I thought, than they were to Cohen. Didn't you notice that?
A little bit.
They were getting Howard involved in the passing game.
Yeah.
So you never know.
I mean, if you're open, you're open, no matter who.
Yeah, exactly. So
and points is points.
And points is points. So
you're not gonna not throw to Collins if he's wide open in the corner.
Exactly.
Stupid.
Exactly. No. Yeah.
And Flacco is not stupid.
No, he's not stupid. No.
So yeah.
And the big thing was with the Ravens. The Ravens drafted a quarterback in the first round of the draft. They drafted Lamar Jackson out of Louisville, the former Heisman Trophy winner.
Okay.
And many thought, well, maybe then he's going to challenge Flacco for the starting job. The reports then came out that said, oh, no, they're only lit a fire under Flacco's butt and challenge him to play better. Mm-hmm. I think that challenge has been answered.
Yeah.
I think Flacco wants to keep Jackson on the bench for as long as possible. That's the way I see it.
Obviously, he's good. You don't win a Heisman Trophy without being good.
Well, no, but that's Jackson. But
Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, you don't, he was good at Louisville, but Flacco took that as a challenge. Like, oh, they're drafting a quarterback. Well, then I need to step my game up.
And maybe this is going to be another Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation, right, where Aaron Rodgers
was an understudy under Favre for a long time,
for like 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. Got death threats when he took over. When Favre left, he got death threats.
Yeah,
and just a bunch of.
But now look where he is now.
No pun intended.
I like that.
No pun intended. But he got a lot of heat.
Yeah.
And a couple years later, they're saying Brett who?
Right.
Because Rodgers is so good. The reason Rodgers is so good, even though God help him, he's injured his knee again.
Yeah.
The reason Rodgers is so good when he's healthy is because he had Favre.
Right.
It's like a quarterback sitting under Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Even though I don't like New England, I do like Tom Brady. You get good by watching them.
Right.
So
that could be.
Maybe this rookie will do good under Flacco's tutelage.
Well, he's got a Super Bowl winning mentor, so Flacco's won a couple. Sure. So that's a good thing. So aside from that, I think we're going to put a lot of trust in Flacco this week. Yeah. I'll also say another start potentially is John Brown, the wide receiver. He also had a touchdown last week, and he's starting to really become a reliable target for Flacco here. To me, a solid wide receiver 3, may have found a spot to resurge his career. He was kind of struggling in Arizona, got lost in the shuffle sometimes with Fitzgerald and other guys. Had that sickle cell issue that was bugging him a couple years. But now it looks like he's recovered over that and he's back. So looks like a pretty reliable weapon. Couple guys to sit, though. A little leery on Andy Dalton. I'm not high on him this week. Kind of a risky play. The Ravens defense, as we saw last week, is still a very stout defensive unit. That can definitely frustrate you, make your day miserable. You might maybe get QB2 numbers if you're lucky, but I would lean towards sending him because the matchup's so tough. I know Dalton's got plenty of weapons, but the Ravens defense has always been a challenge, and it's just I'm a little leery. So not high on him. The other one is Giovanni Bernard, who is Mixon's backup. More of a better play like in PPR leagues as the flex. The only thing is, though, he doesn't get a lot of touches because there's so many other targets to go around with A.J. Green there and guys like John Ross and Tyler Boyd and Eifert. There's too many mouths to feed in the receiving core. So I wouldn't trust, maybe in a PPR, as like I say, he's a flex play, but I wouldn't trust starting him in a standard league. So that's really the only guys that I can really see as worthy as sits. Let's talk about now the Sunday games. Talk about those Panthers, as long as they play this week, if they do play. No official word from the NFL yet, by the way. Mostly the college games are just getting affected. I think 5 games have been canceled, and the rest have all been either moved to different times, pushed back to different days, or just suspended to postponed to a different day. The Liberty game got postponed all the way to December 1st. So a lot of things affected by Florence. But Carolina is still scheduled right now to be at Atlanta. Panthers last week, 1-0, shut down the Cowboys in a 16-8 win. But the big thing with Carolina, they might have lost a few pieces on the lines. Luke Kuechly got hurt in that game defensively, so his availability a little bit unknown. They lost Darrell Williams, that were their O-lineman again with another knee injury, so that might affect them a little bit against Atlanta. But we know Atlanta is looking to bounce back. They were shut down by the Eagles last week in the opener. So it's one team hoping to strengthen themselves in the division. This is another divisional game, NFC South rivalry. So one team's looking to strengthen itself in the division. The other's trying to bounce back.
I wouldn't call 18-12 shit.
No, but
still it's a loss.
Still it's a loss. But Atlanta's offense is usually capable of a lot bigger things. We know with the talent, the playmakers that Atlanta has, you expect them to do a lot better than what they did. Well, except for Julio Jones, who was catching nearly everything, except for the game-tying touchdown late that was out of bounds. It was the same exact. It was the same exact thing that happened in their playoff game last year, when Julio had the chance to catch it at the end and went through his hands. And except this one he caught, but he was out of bounds. So same scenario. So a lot of guys. I mean, the obvious guys are the guys you normally start on a given basis anyway. Again, here for the Panthers, Cam Newton, a quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, who looks like he's going to be the bell cow this season, the rock solid running back for Carolina. You go with him, and Devin Funchess, their top receiving option.
For sure,
you keep going with them. For the Falcons, especially at home, the Falcons tend to play better at home, indoors. Matt Ryan, of course, at quarterback. Tevin Coleman, the running back. Now, I mentioned this only because Devontae Freeman's status for this game is very much unknown. Freeman did not practice today because he suffered a knee injury late against the Eagles, and he did not practice today, so his status is very, very much in the air. As long as he plays, you start him like normal, but if he doesn't go, then Tevin Coleman is going to get a lot more work, and obviously he needs to be in your lineup. So Coleman is there, and of course, as the aforementioned Julio Jones is a set it and forget it, obviously. There's really no one else of note to mention as a start, but again, a couple sits. Of course, I mentioned Freeman. That's only if he misses the game. The other Falcons receivers, I'm not high on these guys as a result because of the fact that Jones did get so many targets his way. That would be Mohamed Sanu and Calvin Ridley. They're too boomer bust right now. They're really it's kind of hard to tell what their kind of the pecking order is. And yeah, you can be a number 2 or number 3 receiver on a team, but if you don't get enough targets, you're not going to be relevant in fantasy. So there's just too boomer bust to be trusted. Right now, nothing more than risky wide receiver 4s. Maybe Sanu's bordering on 3 territory because Ridley's a rookie and he really hasn't been utilized much. So just kind of a risk there. And then another big injury for the Panthers, tight end Greg Olsen. And it's disappointing to see that happen again to him. He refractured his right foot, the same foot that he had surgery on last year. Stepped on a guy's foot against Dallas and refractured again, so he's out for a considerable amount of time. Now, Olsen has come out and said that this is not going to be the way his 2018 is going to end. So he's confident that this won't be a season ender. We don't know yet how long it's going to be, but certainly another devastating blow to the Panther offense. Because Olsen is one of the more reliable tight ends in the NFL. So just tough to see him get that same injury again. Very, very tough. Moving on now to the aforementioned also, we were talking briefly about the Colts. Again, they looked okay against Cincinnati, but then, of course, blew the game away in typical second half fashion, choking leads away. Always painful to watch. But now they got to go to Washington at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And Washington last week looked impressive themselves in the win over Arizona, winning 24-6. So, Andrew Luck looked impressive in that first game coming back. It was nice to see him back on the field. But that Colts defense just failed him yet again. And now they'll have to get past this Washington team that just simply overwhelmed Arizona. So your obvious starts here for Washington, you got to go with Alex Smith. I mean, Alex Smith, I mean, he didn't have to do a whole lot last week because the running game mostly controlled things against Arizona, but this is a plus matchup. You know, the Colts secondary is nothing to write home about. It can be taken advantage of. So I think Alex Smith is a great play here. Also, Chris Thompson, the running back, more so in PPR leagues, again, because that's his role, taking on the pass-catching responsibilities, but you want to keep going with him. And tight end Jordan Reed, one of the more reliable tight ends in the NFL. For the Colts, the only two guys you can really obviously start are Luck and T.Y. Hilton. Hilton is his main weapon at wide receiver. So those two guys are just set it and forgets. But the start list, and a name that I never thought that I would ever say again as being fantasy relevant, Adrian Peterson. He's back. I never thought that I would say it, but here he is, starting for Washington at running back. Darius Geis goes down. Their hot shot rookie tore his ACL in preseason. The running backs behind him with Rob Kelly and Samaje Perine were not that great, and Thompson is not an every down back, so they had to find somebody. And hey, Adrian Peterson's available. Why not bring him in for a workout? And lo and behold, here he is now, looking still like he's beating Father Time. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Like, I don't know how old he is now, but it's like there's no stopping him.
Yeah.
It's just fun to watch. So the opportunity was there. AP pounced on it. And the Colts run defense, again, also nothing to write home about. So to me, AP, a solid RB2, but the RB1 upside is certainly there. I think you put him in your lineups this week. Another start for me from a Colts perspective is Eric Ebron. I mentioned him. And it's starting to look like now that Ebron has really wrestled the starting job away from Jack Doyle. And actually in the preseason, people thought, okay, Doyle's still going to be the main guy. Ebron's, he's more of a blocker. He's not going to really do a whole lot. Well, that wasn't the game flow last week. That wasn't the game script. Ebron got the majority of the targets, found the end zone, so he got the touchdown. Doyle was invisible the first half, and then until then the second half was starting to get a little bit of work, but then made the critical fumble late. So if Ebron can keep up this strong play and not drop balls like he used to do a lot of in Detroit, he's now bordering on tight end 1 status. He really looks to be the better play. Doyle kind of fades in the background as more of a risky tight end 2, and you always want to go with the better option. So
33.
AP's 33. He's our age? Wow. I wouldn't. Wow. I did not think that he was that young. No.
What, he going to the NFL at 18?
Right? I thought he was a lot older. I thought he was bordering on 35, to be honest. Wow. Okay. Good to know. Nate looking up the information. Look at that. He's on it. So
I was curious too.
Okay. Well, there you go. So play the better option here.
He's been in for a minute.
He has, though. I mean, he's more remembered in Minnesota, but he's bounced around after his run in Minnesota the past couple years, and he's paid off. He was briefly in New Orleans. He paid off in Arizona when Johnson was hurt, and now here he is taking advantage in Washington. So good for him. Sits in this game. Colts running backs.
Ow.
Yeah, there's Dixon's knee injury.
Ow.
That's why.
That hurts me.
That's why he's done for the year. Colts running backs sit in this game. Marlon Mack's status still unknown. He was limited in practice today, still dealing with that hamstring issue.
Mack the limiter said he's going to.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna rush for 1,500 yards and even play the first game. How's that looking now, Jimmy?
Oh my God!
I think I'm gonna keep my hair.
What?
You forgot about the bet already?
I must have not heard about the bet.
We did it on the pre-draft show. Remember? I said that if Mack rushed for 1,500 yards this year, you could shave my head.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You forgot about that already, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and even play the first game. Yeah. How's it looking now,
I could
Jimmy?
shave your head?
Yes.
You don't want me with a reason.
Well, if that's any indication, I think I'm going to keep my hair. Aside from haircuts.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. Hey, Ursay.
Yeah.
What are you drinking? And give me some.
Yeah, right?
Honestly, come on.
How's your Marlon Mack look now? A Mack truck could outrun Marlon Mack right now.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. And the backs behind Mack, mostly they're young guys. They're just Turbin still suspended. Kristen Michael is not special. Jordan Wilkins showed the most potential. He started. He showed some promise, but nothing noteworthy, nothing brilliant enough to deliver any relevance. So don't want to take a risk on him right now. Just keep the running backs on waiver wire. Keep them, maybe scout Wilkins a little bit, but just for now, keep them reserved. And then the Washington wide receivers, we don't know yet really how Alex Smith is going to utilize these guys. It was kind of a mixed bag against Arizona. He targeted all three of Jamison Crowder, Josh Doxson, and Paul Richardson, but they really didn't do much with those targets. So because the run game did most of the work. So and Jordan Reed. So it's still kind of a work in progress. See what happens. You can certainly keep these guys stashed. Like we have Jamison Crowder on our bench, but just kind of take a wait and see approach. This is a plus matchup, but the big question mark becomes, okay, what receiver is going to have the breakout game? And you don't know until it happens. So you don't want to kind of speculate and take just throw it out, just throw a dart at the wall and see what happens. You don't want to kind of take that risk. So just for now, just kind of keep them either on your bench or on waivers, see what happens with them. Houston is at Tennessee, another divisional. There's a lot of divisional matchups this week, I've noticed. There's a lot of in-division games.
Something's going to give in this one because they're both 0-1.
They're both 0-1. Yeah, yep.
Someone's going to be 0-2 and someone's going to be 1.
Yeah, so that's huge in a lot of number of ways. And for the Texans, it was to be expected. They're playing the Patriots in New England. No one's going to expect you to win that game. And Deshaun Watson did struggle. First game back after the torn ACL he suffered last year. But
receiver?
Quarterback. Watson's a quarterback. But Texans tried to rally late. They were down 24-6. Ended up being 27-20. So they did rally late. So that's encouraging going forward. And I think they're going to bounce back here because you think about the Titans, what they went through last week playing Miami. They had to endure 2 lightning delays, and then they lost Delaney Walker for the season with a fractured ankle and torn ligaments. Oh, it was ugly. It was nasty. Oh, it was just in other words, don't watch the video. It was just ugly. Right away, he was put in an air cast, so it's bad right away. So he's done for the year. The tight end, the block solid tight end. And
longest game in history is like 6 hours.
Yes, it was. Yeah, the Dolphins-Titans game was the longest game in terms of time in NFL history. Yeah, after it was like 5 hours plus.
Started at 1 o'clock.
Didn't end until like 7:30. Yeah, it was terrible.
6.5 hours.
So if any fan was there for the whole game, kudos to you to brave that out. I couldn't do it. I'm a Dolphins fan, but I couldn't do that.
No.
And the Titans also, Marcus Mariota's status a little bit in doubt. He did have an elbow injury, but I did get an alert from Fantasy Life today that said, barring any setbacks, actually Mariota should be good to go for this week. We'll see what happens. Keep monitoring it, but as long as he has no complication with that elbow, he should be fine. So your obvious starts for the Texans, running back Lamar Miller, the workhorse of the offensive running back. Keep on going with him. Also DeAndre Hopkins. He's a must start. He's the top weapon for Watson. Keep rolling with him as well. But I'm also going to say Bruce Ellington. Ellington had a touchdown last week, maybe more so a PPR threat. But he's starting to get a lot more because Will Fuller might be out again this week. He's dealing with a nagging hamstring injury. It's also kind of bugging him last year too. So Ellington might get more work. So I think he's an okay start as well. And for the Titans, I think both their running backs are still very solid. Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis. Lewis, again, more so in PPR because he gets involved on the receiving downs a lot more. And Henry's more the every down back. But I like both in this game. I think they'll still do really good things. The only other star is Watson. I don't think you need to panic here. Watson's going to bounce back. It was expected. It's the Patriots on the road. It was to be expected. His first game back. Deshaun Watson's going to be fine. Don't panic on him. He should bounce back. The Titans defense, nothing to write home about. Deshaun Watson is still a QB1. Start him as you normally would. Sits are a lot of Titans. Because, again, I don't know you. That's a weird number. It's a Lafayette number that I did not know.
I'm wondering what that noise was.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was my phone. Sits. Marcus Mariota, again, his status for the week is in doubt. The elbow thing, plus that Texans defense, now that it's back healthy, presents a lot of challenges. Pass on that. I don't want any part of that. Corey Davis, I'm still not a fan of. I don't see it. A lot of people are high on him. I don't see it. He was such a bust last year, and especially if Mariota's out, I don't like it. So I'm still not high on Corey Davis. Mentioned Delaney Walker. Get him off your rosters now. He's out for the year. And I'm not really high on his replacement.
Sure
Yes, confirmed out for the year. Yes. So he is out for the year. And I'm not really high on his replacement, at least not right now, Jonnu Smith. More of a risky tight end 2 right now until we see what kind of rapport he develops in the offense. But for now, not high on him. And I mentioned again Will Fuller, likely out with the hamstring issue that is bugging him as well. All right, speaking of the Eagles and speaking of Fitzmagic. I'll wait till you get there. The paper being a bugaboo. There you go. Eagles and Bucks. Battle of 1-0 teams here. And I did not think we were going to be saying that after week 1. But what Tampa did to New Orleans was borderline heart removal on that defense. I mean, who could have predicted that? Who could have predicted that Fitzpatrick was just going to carve them up? The Eagles offense, without Wentz, still didn't look great against Atlanta. It was a win. It was a win regardless, but not exactly a pretty win. But their defense, the defense made enough plays to get past Atlanta. And now they'll look to conquer Fitzmagic and the Bucks, and we'll see if that high-octane offense can be sustained in this very tough matchup. There's still a couple guys that I think you can use here. The Eagles, I love the Eagles running backs this week. I love them again because they looked so good last week. Jay Ajayi had 2 touchdowns last week. I love how the Eagles are using him. They're finally getting him a little more involved in the offense. I love that. You want to keep rolling with Jay Ajayi. But I also like their dual threats. And you know me, I'm always a fan of these dual threat running backs. And Corey Clement, Darren Sproles, the way that the team is utilizing both of them, I love that. I love seeing that. A lot more value, of course, in PPR leagues because of that. But I still like the way they're using them. And with the Bucs defense, also who gave up a lot to New Orleans last week, I think they will be utilized very strongly as well. So I like both this week. More so in PPR, but you can certainly play either in standard as like a maybe RB2 or a flex. And Zach Ertz, the tight end, continues to get a lot of targets as well, still big in the offense. For the Bucs, there's only a couple guys that I'm really high on this week. Of course, Mike Evans is the number 1 rock-solid option for Ryan Fitzpatrick. You keep going to him. You keep feeding him the targets. He takes advantage of them. So you keep going with Mike Evans. And then Peyton Barber, who's leading the run game, getting ahead of the rookie Ronald Jones. I think you keep going with him as well. Didn't have a great week last week, but that's supposed to be because they're doing a lot of work through the air. But he's still the lead back. He's still going to get plenty of work. you keep sticking with Peyton Barber. I will say, though, here you can start Nick Foles. Only because the matchup is so good and a lot easier than Atlanta. Even though the Saints did lose to Tampa Bay last week, Drew Brees was still able to carve up whatever the Bucs throw out there, whatever they call a defense as a defensive unit. They still give up 40 points. They still gave up a lot to New Orleans. So Foles is going to have a much easier time this week than what he had with Atlanta. To me, normally a QB2, but certainly the QB1 upside is definitely there in this matchup as well. So I think you can be still good with Nick Foles. As we mentioned in our tough decision this week, I would sit Ryan Fitzpatrick if you have to. I mean, I applauded him for what he did against New Orleans, but can he duplicate that? That's really the thing. What's the most likely scenario? That's the question you have to ask yourself. What's more likely to happen? Is it likely to duplicate what he did again with his 49 points against New Orleans? Is that going to happen against Philly? I highly, highly doubt it. If that happens against Philly, then I'll be impressed. But I highly doubt that. As it says here, consider us very skeptical. I think we're both on the same page on that.
Yeah.
To me, only
it's the Super Bowl champion
Eagles. Yes. Yeah, and they're that for a reason.
The old adage says, offense wins games, defense
wins
championships.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's why we're leery. So to me, only a QB 2 or 3 if you have to. But if you don't have to, if you have a better option like we had with Flacco, then keep him on your bench. As we mentioned, Deshaun Jackson, the wide receiver, likely will not play. He's in concussion protocol right now. So that's why he's kind of a high risk. So I wouldn't play him unless he actually gets the clearance to play. And then the Eagles wideouts, here's the thing. As long as Alshon Jeffrey is still out and there's no timetable or telling when he'll be back from his injury, you really can't trust any Eagles receivers, not even Nelson Aguilar, who is kind of the number one option by default, but he just doesn't get targeted enough. So I worry about the consistency of the Eagles receivers. So there really isn't a top option out there to be fantasy relevant in Jeffrey's absence. So to me, too inconsistent for my liking. I don't like any of those guys. Kansas City and Pittsburgh. This is going to be a really good one, 1 o'clock on Sunday. This is going to be a really good game. This is a battle of two really good offenses. So the key then is going to be which defense is going to step up and play the best game, because you've got two really talented quarterbacks. You've got two really talented running backs. You've got two really talented wide receivers. It's almost like a mirror image of each other. So this is going to be a really good game. With Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, he looks like legit. He looks like the real deal. Had a great game last week against the Chargers. And so it's his team now. Alex Smith is gone. It's now his offense to control, and he looks the part of a very strong NFL quarterback. But now they take on this Steelers team that they had Cleveland dead to rights. They were leading Cleveland 21-7 late. They let the lead get away. They let Cleveland come back and then ended in a tie with a very sloppy overtime where both teams had a chance to kick field goals and either missed them or got blocked. Cleveland had a chance to win late and got blocked. So it was just a kind of sloppy ending after a wild game to have been that 21-21 tie. But so in this game, this is like my fantasy jackpot of the week. You are starting probably the vast majority of relevant skill players in this game. There's no one really else of note to be a side start. There's no one really of note to sit. You can start the majority of your players in this game. For the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, who had a monster game last week, Travis Kelce. Those four are your rock-solid Chiefs. They're likely matchup proof. So unless they run like a really good secondary guy, but those guys are lock, stock, barrel guys. Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, The running back, James Conner, as long as Le'Veon Bell remains away from the team, which, by the way, he still does remain away from the team because they don't want to play under they don't want to sign his franchise tender. You're wanted. The wife calls. So as long as Bell remains out, James Conner is the guy. Had 28 fantasy points last week, so he will still be the main guy. Also, you've got the two receivers there in Pittsburgh who are your main guys you want to start. Antonio Brown, of course, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Those two guys are definitely must-start options. So you're starting all your Chiefs and all your Steelers that are fantasy relevant. You're playing these guys guaranteed. This is going to be a fun matchup. This, to me, is the fantasy jackpot of the week. Let's see. Fantasy jackpot. Let's see. Where's the yellow here? Here's the yellow here. Make it all flashy. There we go. Draw some money. Here we go. Maybe some dollar signs,
Say what?
Who? The Chiefs and the Steelers game.
I'm gonna be right back.
Okay.
Pizza over there.
Okay, but yeah.
All right.
Chiefs Steelers, your fantasy jackpot. That's going to produce a lot of points this week. If you have Chiefs or Steelers, you're probably going to get a lot of points this week. So keep that in mind. Also, 1 o'clock on Sunday, speaking of the Fins. The Fins were the only team this week that I follow that got a win. Everybody else lost. Seattle lost to Denver. Arizona lost to Washington. Colts lost to Cincinnati. Who else? Houston lost to New England. And Detroit showed up, not really, in the loss to the Jets. So now the Jets get to play my Fins. So Miami at the Jets, battle of 1-0 teams. Another division game. There's so many division games here in week 2. This is crazy. So another 1 o'clock Sunday game. Dolphins overcame 2 lightning delays. 2, both very long, by the way. And the Titans nearly pulled off an inspired comeback, but they got their first one under their belt. Great stuff. But now they're faced with this much taller challenge than before because Sam Darnold looks legit. Like, I don't think anybody could have expected that out of the box from Sam Darnold, but he had an outstanding game. Like, what did he pull off last week? I know he had a lot of points. He had 17 fantasy points last week, so that's not bad at all. And after him and company just simply carved up the Lions defense on Monday night, this is a much bigger challenge than before for Miami. So again, an important game for both teams because you want to keep up with New England in the AFC East. So that's why this game is now very, very much more important. Obvious starts here. For the Fins, I think the only guy that I really think is an obvious play, at least for now, is Kenyon Drake. Obviously he's the top running back there. He's really the only guy that's like set it, forget it, don't need to worry about. I think he's, for sure. For the Jets, I think now all their skill players look so much better. Isaiah Crowell at running back, obviously. Bilal Powell, I think, is still usable, mainly again in PPR leagues but still a very usable player. And then their top two receivers, Quincy Enunwa, I got to say, it's great to see Quincy Enunwa back after the devastating neck injury that he suffered last year. It's nice to see him back healthy again and making big plays. So it's nice to see him, on the field again. So and looking very good. So he's a great play, along with Robbie Anderson, who still, of course, gets a lot of work in this offense. So I think either of those guys are solid plays here. Because the Dolphins defense, I'm going to be, as a Fins fan, I'm going to be honest, we're okay. We're not great by any stretch. The secondary is young, so that's kind of a risk. So Tennessee did, exploit us a couple times. But, for the most part, the offense did enough to balance that out. So, but I like a lot of the Jets guys. Couple more starts, though. I mentioned Sam Darnold. If by chance he is available in your league, if you need quarterback help, get Sam Darnold now. Don't wait. Welcome to the NFL. Ooh. Okay. Welcome to the NFL indeed. Wow. That's how welcoming he is, apparently. Yeah, what a week he had. Clearly, he's the real deal after that heart removal he did to the Lions. And the secondary, I mentioned how young they are. It poses a little bit of a tougher challenge than Detroit did, but really not by a whole lot, not by much. So Darnold, to me, this week, a great QB2 play, but the upside certainly there. Stock is definitely on the rise. If you have a chance, get Sam Darnold now. And Kenny Stills, he's on our team as our number 3 receiver now. We're starting him now in favor of Chris Hogan, who had a disappointing week. Clearly has now emerged as a top receiving option. Had 22 fantasy points last week. I should have started him over Hogan, honestly. In this underwhelming receiving core, with Devontae Parker hurt and usually struggling with his broken finger. Danny Amendola, Albert Wilson not getting as many targets or much work. They're kind of in the background. Stills is that big play threat. Ryan Tannehill knows that has a nice rapport with them, consistently a deep ball threat. So he's got that nice rapport going with Tannehill. So to me, a solid wide receiver 3 going forward. Certainly the upside is there for more. And in terms of the sits, the only one that I'm thinking of sitting is Tannehill, and I know sometimes it might be hard to sit Ryan Tannehill, especially if you invested a lot in him to be a top option for you this year. But after what the Jets did, it's kind of hard to now really play, anybody against that Jets defense. It's going to become more of a risk. You can't fault me really for making Tannehill, a real, kind of risky play this week. So, Tannehill's very solid, decent receiving core, but that Jets defense worries me. To me, he is only a very low-end QB2 this week. So that is how I see the Dolphins-Jets matchup. Chargers and Bills, I don't have a whole lot to say on because, as we mentioned in the open, the Bills are going to be probably the worst team in the league this year. The only exciting thing that's going to happen now at Bills games is the tailgating in the parking lot, okay, with the Bills Mafia, because Bills games are going to probably be very painful to watch from here on out if week 1 wasn't painful enough. Losing 47-3 to the Ravens. Granted, Nathan Peterman was your quarterback. Emphasis on was because now Josh Allen is starting in a no surprise move. But yeah, this is the Peterman era is over just as quickly as it started for the Buffalo Bills. So Josh Allen now named the starter. But the question is, can the Bills bounce back against this very solid Chargers offense with a ton of weapons? Hint, it's not likely. I don't see that happening at all. So I think the Chargers are probably going to win that game very, very easily. So here's the thing. The only Bill that is fantasy relevant at this point is LaShawn McCoy. He's really the only Buffalo Bill that you can trust. You're not starting Josh Allen until he shows something. You're not starting any Bills receiver because right now there are no good ones. There are no, and I'm not counting Kelvin Benjamin. Until Josh Allen can make him look good, you're not playing him either. So I'm not including him in that. Or Charles Clay, because again, it's just the quarterback has to make these guys look good, and right now it's not happening. So you're not doing that in Josh Allen's first game. It's just not going to happen. They're just not that good. So for fantasy purposes, the only Bill you can play is LaShawn McCoy. For the Chargers, though, you can start a lot of guys because, again, this defense is also pretty bad. Phillip Rivers is a great play here. Phillip Rivers is obviously a must start. Same with Melvin Gordon at running back. Same with Keenan Allen at wide receiver. Those three guys are usually set it and forget it. You play those guys on a weekly basis. A couple guys, though, I like more so in PPR leagues. Running back Austin Eckler actually had a really decent week last week. Even though Gordon gets a lot of the work, Eckler, I want to say he had a double-digit week. Yeah, he had 17 fantasy points last week. So had a big week. Granted, he might not do that every single week, but clearly he's going to have this passing down role in the offense and take advantage of it. So, and you know how the Chargers utilize their third down backs. We saw that example when Danny Woodhead was healthy for the Chargers for all those years. So I think Austin Eckler has a bright outlook going forward, and I think you can play him as more of an RB2 or 3 in standard, but certainly a great play in PPR leagues. Same with Tyrell Williams, the wide receiver. He had a touchdown last week. I think he's clearly going to be the number 2 receiver in this offense outside of Keenan Allen. So I think he could be used maybe wide receiver 3 with some upside, but a solid start as well. Now, I'm sure also people are going to ask me, what of Antonio Gates? What of Antonio Gates? Well, what about Antonio Gates? I mean, look, he was good when he was in his prime, but I don't know what he has left now. I don't really see the potential for a breakout. So I'm not really high. It's nice to see him back in LA with the Chargers where he had a lot of reserves when he was in San Diego, but I don't. The connection might return, maybe, but for now, I don't see it. So I don't think right now you can trust Antonio Gates. If he starts again developing that same rapport that he had before, then yeah, there might be some potential there. But right now, I'm going to temper my expectations, and I'm not going to buy too much into Antonio Gates just yet. Another divisional game, Minnesota at Green Bay. This is a big one. In the NFC North. This is for first place. With Detroit and Chicago both losing last week, now the winner of this game will reign supreme in the division. And, of course, the big question mark is Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to be able to play this week? There's a lot of talk after what happened. Nate briefly mentioned it with the knee injury. This is a big deal, and today he was not on the practice field. Granted, also, nor was Devontae Adams. The talk with him is that he's dealing with a shoulder issue, but from everything we read from him, he says he's going to be good to go, but it's Rodgers' status that is the most in doubt with that knee. But what he did on Sunday night, what he did is just unbelievable. It's like straight out of a Hollywood movie. I mean, on one good leg, he defies the odds, takes his team back from 20-0 down, and wins the game 24-23. Just a comeback for the ages from Aaron Rodgers. And, even though his availability now is in doubt this week, right now they're calling it a sprained knee. So apparently no, ligament damage, which is a good thing. He avoided that. But we'll see what happens. So did not practice today. But we'll see what happens as we get closer to game time. We should do something definitive probably by Friday. So monitor that situation all week because he will need, he'll need all the strength in the world to get past another good defense of Minnesota. These are division rivals who also come loaded with a ton of talent and a very strong defense. So a lot of guys that I like here as obvious starts. For the Vikings, you got to go with their main weapons. Kirk Cousins looked the part at quarterback last week, looked very, very good. So I think you got to keep rolling with him. Dalvin Cook at running back, nice to see him back from the torn ACL he suffered last year. Nice to see him back in his lead role in the offense. As for Latavius Murray, I think he's more of a flex PPR play. He doesn't get a ton of work with Cook being healthy, so he's more of a risky flex play in PPR leagues. Might get a couple of touches here and there, but nothing major. So it's just a risk there. But the receivers, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, both had big weeks last week. Diggs found the end zone. So huge weeks for both. Kyle Rudolph, the tight end, had a touchdown last week, so you keep rolling with him. These guys you mainly are set and forget most weeks because of the talent of this Vikings offense. For the Packers, obviously, as long as Aaron Rodgers plays, if he plays, then you play him as usual. But it could be a risk because, again, they want to be careful as possible with that knee issue. But as long as he goes, I think you keep rolling with him. Again, Devontae Adams is the same thing as long as he plays. If he plays through this shoulder issue, you play him like normal. And Jimmy Graham at tight end. Now, I know Graham didn't have a great opening week last week, but he's going to be a cog in this offense. He's going to have an important role. Aaron Rodgers loves throwing to his tight end, so as long as he plays, Jimmy Graham's going to get targets. He's going to get work. So he will be perfectly fine. I'm also going to say start the other two Packers receivers this week because they got a lot involved last week. Randall Cobb, well, so much for all that talk about him getting traded or released. I mean, there was a report, late last year or earlier this year that said, oh, they might trade Randall Cobb or, oh, they might release him and get rid of him. Well, so much for that. He went nuts and then had the game-winning 75-yard touchdown last week. So it looks like he is back in Aaron Rodgers' good graces. So as long as Rodgers goes, as long as he plays, welcome back. As long as he plays, Cobb is a solid, at least, wide receiver 2 going forward to be a part of this offense. Same with Geronimo Allison. He got a lot of work. Popular waiver ad this week as well. And why wouldn't he? Got a ton of targets against Chicago. As long as this rapport continues, Allison, I think, is a solid wide receiver 3 going forward. I'm on Minnesota Green Bay.
Is that before or after New England?
That's way before. I'm only a couple pages in. You only missed 2 games.
Okay, I left on Miami and New York Jets, I think.
Yes, you did. I was just talking about Miami Jets when you left.
LA Chargers and Buffalo.
Chargers and Buffalo, there wasn't really much to discuss. I just basically touched on the fact that Buffalo's terrible and that McCoy's the only relevant player on Buffalo. And you can start most of your Chargers because the Bills' defense is terrible. So there wasn't really much not to talk about there.
Of the Browns and
Steelers.
Steelers debacle.
You really call that game a debacle even though they ended in a tie?
Considering that the Browns had a 21 to
no, the Steelers had a 21-7 lead. Yeah, and then they blew it. And then overtime was just sloppy. Yeah.
Yes, I'll call that a debacle.
Okay. All right.
They blew the lead. They had it won. They blew the lead to get into overtime. Then they couldn't win it.
Right. Neither team could. Yeah. So the only
Minnesota Green Bay.
The only sit I have for Minnesota Green Bay is the Packers running backs. I wouldn't really trust Jamal Williams or really any other Packer back, not Ty Montgomery, because the Vikings' defensive front is very stout. So I really wouldn't trust anyone. I think it's going to be a mainly passing game. Again, these 2 division rivals know each other very well. So I think it's going to be kind of an air-out fest. So,
do you still do the game of the week in the week? Did you do that?
Well, I did mention the fantasy jackpot. I did mention that with Kansas City and Pittsburgh.
That'd probably be your game of the
WEEK. WEEK, yeah, with a lot of fantasy points. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Minnesota Green Bay, you could make a case too. That could be a good one too.
Who's your game of the WEEK?
WEAK.
Have you got there yet?
Boy, that one.
Because I remember that's one feature we did last year that I liked.
Lions San Francisco, probably.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to speaking of the Browns and the game ending in a tie. They get to go to New Orleans this week.
Yay!
Yay! Yeah, yay!
At New Orleans.
At New Orleans. So the question is, what kind of Saints are we going to get? Are we going to get the Saints that play well at home, or are we going to get the team that gave up 48 points and 5 touchdowns to Ryan Fitzpatrick?
But that was not at home.
I know, wasn't it? Or was it? Why don't I want to say that was in New Orleans? No, that was at home.
I thought that was at Tampa Bay.
Are you sure?
I thought so.
I thought for sure that was – no, that was at New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Fitzpatrick did that in New Orleans.
They got 2 home games to
start
the year? That's
So, and they got blown up. So, yeah, let's just say for the record now, these are not last year's Browns. This is clearly –
or last year's Saints, for that matter.
Yeah, right. To get a tie with the Steelers, I think that can be considered a major accomplishment.
Yes.
It's not a loss. So, you went 0-16 last year. So it's, you're not going to lose every game this year, thankfully. So, but they're still longing for a win of some kind, of any kind. So,
and though I got something to say on that.
Yeah.
Second game at New Orleans, the second game of the season.
Yes.
It's rare to have 2 home games in a row.
Yes.
Here's the deal. I think that New Orleans might just put a whooping on the Browns because they're
playing angry.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking they're going to be playing ticked.
Yeah, they want to. Yeah, they want
their home crowd again.
Yeah.
They want to give the home crowd something to like.
They want to prove.
Yeah,
they want to prove that whole thing was a fluke. Yeah, I think they do, and.
So they're going to be playing ticked off.
Yeah, I mean, and Cleveland could make it a game because Cleveland does have plenty of weapons. But I agree. But I concur. The Saints, D might play a little bit angry. So, so I like a lot of guys in this game too. I have no sits in this game. I think I think you can start probably again a lot of your skill players in this game because I think this could be a very entertaining game. Browns running backs, love them. Carlos Hyde has done a nice job now being here in Cleveland, and Duke Johnson more so a PPR play, but I like him here. The wide receivers, Cleveland is now loaded with wide receiver. They have probably as strong a 1-2 punch as any out there. Jarvis Landry coming over from Miami, unfortunately. Dolphins, why'd you get rid of him? And Josh Gordon, who was great to see him back after going through another stint of rehab. He's finally back, had a touchdown last week. In fact, the game-tying touchdown, actually, as we'll see in this game against Pittsburgh. So great to see him back. And actually, I think I told you this, that touchdown was his first catch of the game last week. He was on a snap count, but because it was his first game back. But now he won't be because he'll be a starter alongside Landry, and it's going to be a 1-2 combo that is going to be lethal. So, and David Njoku, one of the tight end, very reliable as well. Looked good in the preseason. You keep rolling with him. For the Saints, Drew Brees obviously must start home away regardless.
Where did Jarvis Landry go?
Miami.
Okay, yes.
Why do you think now Miami's receiving core is underwhelming?
Have you covered Green Bay, Chicago yet?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
yeah.
I wanted to be there for that.
Yeah.
By the way,
go ahead. Well, if you want to say something about Green Bay, Chicago, go ahead. Or Minnesota, Green Bay, not Chicago, Green Bay. Minnesota, Green Bay.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. Going back to Chicago, I know we didn't do a week 1, but against Green Bay, after the half, I said Chicago, I will see you in Atlanta.
He's confident.
After week 1, I don't know how the rest of the season is going to go, but I watch a lot of history stuff, and even with sports history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just U.S. history, world history. I like to watch the history of the sports. And, you know, draw your attention back to the 85 Bears.
Yeah.
Oh, that defense. Oh, that defense is scary. With Khalil Mack. Speaking of, why did you let one
players go? Yeah, Raiders. Raiders, what were you thinking?
They didn't want to pay him the money.
They didn't want to pay him the money.
Well, you know what? Khalil Mack signed how much?
6 years, $141 million, $90 million of it guaranteed.
And I'm going to tell you,
he's worth every penny.
After one game, he earned his contract in that first game. Okay?
Yes, yeah, he did.
Chicago, I will see you in Atlanta. I'm telling you, that defense is kicking.
And we got them off of waivers now in fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody that plays us, be scared.
Yeah.
Be scared.
Khalil Mack coming for you.
Hopefully that wasn't a fluke, but it was at Green Bay.
It was at Green Bay.
At Lambeau Field.
With Aaron Rodgers. Who messed up his knee. Yeah.
And sorry for anybody who watches this from our churches, but the dumbass still played. I'll call him a dumbass for that.
Oh, Rodgers?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Yeah.
You know, I know you want to play.
And he didn't practice today.
I know you want to play. I know you want to compete, but when you're already injured, why risk re-injury?
Right.
They obviously cleared him to play because they say, okay, but I can imagine that.
But he was still wobbly and limping.
One leg.
He couldn't push off on it anymore.
You know, and I don't know why they cleared him.
Right.
I really don't. Obviously they did, because you don't play unless they say you can.
Right.
And I could just imagine the consultation in that tank. You know, we'll clear you, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Right.
And then Rodgers, I don't know. Did Rodgers say, "Well, I still want to play. Screw you guys. I'm going out there."
You guys.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But you're stupid head for playing.
And yet he orchestrated one of the best comebacks we've ever seen on one leg.
On one leg. But if he would have gotten hit one more time,
I know,
his season definitely
would have been over. I know. And then we'd be talking about DeShone Kizer. Yeah. So, yeah.
Who?
Exactly. Yeah.
But no, yes, again, at Lambeau.
Yeah.
Against Green Bay.
Yeah.
Always tough to play. That
prime time game Sunday night.
Prime time game. That crowd is always tough for opponents to play, and for the Bears defense to do what they did. Yeah. Offense wins games. Defense wins championships. I know y'all have heard it. It's so cliche, but it's true.
Right. Roquan Smith, who filled in for Danny Trevathan when Trevathan was hurt.
And who had the strip fumble right into the hands?
That was Mack.
That was Mack.
And that was when Kizer was in. So, yeah.
He took the ball right out of Kaiser's hands. Just took it out of his hands. He
sacked him first.
He wasn't leaning,
and then just mine.
He wasn't leaning back to throw.
No.
He tackled him.
Yeah.
And then just took it right out of his hands, right into his arms.
Yeah.
Basically, Kizer almost looked like he handed it off to Mack.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, you know, he earned all his contract with me.
Absolutely,
$90 million guaranteed.
$90 million guaranteed. $141 million over 6 years.
He won. He earned that $141 million and whatnot. They are my pick for the Super Bowl if their defense stays up like it is.
Mm-hmm.
Trevathan's good. You mentioned.
Yeah.
But Smith, what's his name?
Roquan.
Isn't he a rook?
He is a rook. He's a rook out of Georgia.
Exactly.
Yep.
Roquan Smith doing what he did as a rookie. Khalil Mack doing what he did his first
game in Chicago.
His first game with the Bears. Come on now. 85 Bears reincarnated. I say.
Yeah.
Because, again, I'm talking about the 85 Bears. One of the commentaries, because I watched the America's game, the Super Bowl winners and whatnot.
Yeah.
when one defender is covered, here comes another one on the side. They are almost impossible to cover.
Okay, let me follow that up with this. Who would you like to see Chicago matched up with then after week 1?
I have no idea.
Who would be your pick in the AFC?
Oh, for the Super Bowl?
Yes.
I don't know.
After week 1.
I didn't watch that many games. What do you think?
For me, the team that impressed me the most, Kansas City.
Yeah.
I would say Kansas City. I mean, don't get me wrong, New England's going to be the popular pick, but they didn't look all that great against Houston.
Honestly,
I think it's Kansas City.
Honestly, I'd like to see New England against the Bears just to get their ass kicked.
Well, yeah, of course. Everyone would love to see that, obviously. But
I believe the Bears, if the Bears continue to play like the defense they did at the
at Green Bay.
They could technically they can't go undefeated, but
right.
I'm going to say probably the rest of the way I wouldn't.
You wouldn't be surprised at 15-1.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
If that defense plays like it did, Sunday night?
Yeah, yes. Sunday night. Yes.
If the Bears defense plays the way they did, although they only lost by 1 point, but that's because the Bears offense couldn't do anything.
No.
I don't really blame that much on the defense.
You can't.
They did get burned. They did get burned maybe 1 or 2 plays, but only 1 or 2 plays to note. One or two good Aaron Rodgers throws down the field. They need to drop into zone coverage more, I think.
It is the offense, and that's the thing. Chicago's
the offense just folded, man.
They did.
They couldn't get anything going. Like I said, offense wins games. And if the offense would have been just a pip better, they had chances.
They did. And I don't think you can pin that on one person in the offense because, Trubisky's still young. He's a second-year quarterback. You've got talent in the backfield with Howard and Cohen. You've got a new tight end now in Trey Burton you got from the Eagles, who's a star. The receiving core is what needs to get better. The receiving core is, you got Allen Robinson from Jacksonville. You acquired him to be your top guy, but then someone else has to step up and help him out. He can't be the only one.
Yes.
So the receiving core has to do the job. If they can get more balanced that offensively, then they'll be better.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And like I said, if the offense can get with it.
Yes.
That defense is going to carry that.
Absolutely.
I firmly believe that defense.
It would remind me a lot of last year's Eagles.
Yes.
It would. The Eagles' D was their big thing last year, but then their offense got better throughout the season.
And who's Chicago play this week?
They are on Monday night against Seattle.
At Seattle or at Soldier?
At Soldier.
Where's what's Seattle? Not Energy.
CenturyLink. CenturyLink Field. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Seattle's not the Legion of Boom anymore because they lost a few players.
They lost all the players except for Earl Thomas. And Thomas only came back because of contract.
But we will see what the offense can do against still, I say, a decent defense.
Yes,
not elite.
Now, they didn't look great against Denver. Denver put up 27 points on them. So
it never looked good against Denver, though, really.
Except for the Super Bowl, when they were still a good defense.
Yeah.
That was still the good defense. But yeah. So we'll see.
Remember, a couple years later, they played them again in the Super Bowl, Mannings.
No, that was Denver, Carolina.
Okay.
That was against Carolina.
Okay. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
thought
that was against Carolina. Nope.
Shows how much I know. But anyway, yeah. After week 1, Bears are my pick. With that defense is freaking looking
right. But no, Browns Saints. I think you can start a lot of your guys.
Yeah.
So Saints, Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, running back. Obviously, the rock solid there. Our guy Michael Thomas had a huge week last week. 22 fantasy points last week. It killed it. So he's a must start. Ted Ginn, I like a little bit more so in PPR, but I think you can also go with him. He's becoming a solid option there as well. And I'll also say Tyrod Taylor. After seeing what Fitz did against the Saints defense, you got to maybe feel good about maybe putting Taylor in this week.
Mm-hmm.
Normally a QB2, but certainly borderline QB1 appeal in this plus matchup. All the weapons at his disposal. Gordon no longer on a snap count. The upside is there. So I think you can start a lot of your guys in the Browns-Saints game. Lions and 49ers, 4:05 game on Sunday. This is the week game. Talk about your ugly. It says right there. Talk about your ugly. Because that's what these two teams were last week. See right there. Talk about your ugly.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. How else could I describe it after what those two teams did last week? Lions didn't even bother to show up. Horrendous loss to the Jets, 48-17 on Monday night at home.
Now that's a smash.
Yeah, at home against a rookie quarterback making his first start, Sam Darnold.
Oh, yeah.
Out of USC.
So that's why they're so high on him all day today. We've been watching
NFL Network most of the day.
NFL Network, Good Morning Football.
Yeah.
I heard everybody talking about him.
Yeah, that's why now everyone has Darnold fever because of his performance against Detroit. Yeah. And Matthew Stafford throws not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 interceptions.
Oh, and by the way, jerk, you lost us 10 points for that.
Thanks, Matt. You know what that gets you? Off the team. Good riddance, Stafford.
To quote one of my favorite movies, Pitch Perfect 2 and the riff off. I don't think you've seen it.
No.
You gone.
He gone.
And not in a good way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And the 49ers, playing Minnesota, didn't look great either. They looked kind of rough. And that was Jimmy Garoppolo's first loss as an NFL starting quarterback. He was 7-0 prior, his first loss as a starter. So now the question becomes, out of these two, who's going to bounce back the fastest? So that's going to be the big question.
I don't know. I mean, we talked earlier about quarterbacks having great tutelage, and Garoppolo sat under Tom Brady for a minute. Yep. So I think he knows how.
Yes, I agree.
Stafford really didn't have.
Stafford's been the Lions starter, but it feels like forever.
Tutelage.
Yeah,
really. He didn't have the opportunity to sit under anybody.
No.
Because he got drafted. And
I think he was thrown in the wolves right away. Because remember who the Lions had before him, like Joey Harrington and Dan Orlovsky and all these also-rans. So, yeah. So
if I could go out on another limb here, I might be wrong on this one, but I say Garoppolo.
I see San Francisco's probably going to win this game too.
And plus, it's at
San Francisco.
At they're not Candlestick anymore.
Levi's. Yeah, Levi's Stadium. You're right.
Where are they at now?
There's
Corona or something. Where is that?
Oh gosh, now I can't remember it. It's not Carson because that's Oakland, right? See, here we go.
Located at?
Yeah, now
I know they.
Now
moved,
we're both googling.
They moved cities when they moved from Candlestick.
Yes, they did.
It's not in the same city. That's what's confusing.
Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's right.
They were somewhere else.
Yeah.
I know they were. Somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's almost.
I don't know why I had Carson on the brain, but unless Candlestick was in Carson, but.
Where is Candlestick Park located?
Okay, it was in San Francisco, actually. Yeah, Candlestick was actually in San Francisco. Yeah, it was in San Francisco. But now, Levi's is in Santa Clara.
Why aren't they called the Santa Clara?
I don't
Or unless Santa Clara is a suburb of San Francisco.
That's a possibility.
But anyways, they're at Levi's Stadium.
Yeah.
I believe their first game home.
Yes, first game home because San Francisco was on the road at Minnesota last week.
Yeah, and it's tough to win at Minnesota.
Yes, yeah.
By the way, still I think one of the most beautiful.
What, Minnesota's? Yes. Oh, U.S. Bank. Oh, yes, yeah. U.S. Bank Stadium is gorgeous.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another couple I follow on YouTube, Nikki and John.
Okay.
Well, John got tickets from a friend of his, like his boss or a friend. He got a luxury suite tickets.
Oh, to U.S. Bank?
Yeah,
oh, nice.
Because his boss didn't use them, so he gave them to John.
Cool.
And
awesome.
And he filmed a little bit. You know the NFL is kind of stickler against it, but he filmed a little bit in his suite. He didn't film the game, but he filmed around his suite, and oh my gosh,
Colorado Rocky. They forgot the S. Nice spelling, Dish. Get the name of my baseball team right.
All right, flip it, I guess. See this trash.
Huh?
I want to see this trash. I call this trash.
You call the game trash?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Pittsburgh blows a 14-point lead. Can't even win it in overtime. I call that trash.
All right.
Sorry.
Go to the game finder, see what's on. But anyway, Detroit, San Francisco. Yeah, I think the Niners are going to win this game because the Lions defense just looked absolutely terrible. This game finder takes fucking forever to load.
Yeah, I'll tell you when it's loaded.
Okay. There's only a couple guys I like here in terms of obvious starts. Golden Tate is the Lions' top receiver. I like the Lions receivers.
Do you get MLB?
Yes, actually I do. White Sox and Royals. Hey, there we go.
Although the Sox are sucking this year.
So are the Royals. It's a battle of suck. It's a battle of suck. It's two of my teams.
What's up with the? Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, it's a battle of suck, and one will suck worse than the other.
It will never be Royals.
Not making the playoffs.
Sorry if that's a copyright infringement. I'm just going to do that one part.
Right. Lions, though, only guys I like really for obvious starts are Golden Tate, Marvin Jones. Two receivers, pretty solid, obviously. You start them regardless of matchup. I will say, though, Garoppolo, you can probably get away with starting this week just because the Lions' defense is so bad.
No obvious starts, but yes, start Garoppolo.
I don't think he's an obvious because, again, he did struggle last week, but this matchup is very favorable for him against that terrible Lions defense. Like I said, you don't want to put too much stock into it against the Vikings, but here's the thing.
Wouldn't see Pierre Garcon as an obvious?
He didn't do a whole lot last week. That worries me.
Is he getting older?
He is. Like what did he do last week? I don't think Garcon really did a whole lot.
Who's he competing with in San Francisco?
Well, it was Marquise Goodwin, but then Goodwin got hurt last week. He has, I think, a hamstring issue.
So they might put a little bit more work on Garcon.
Possible, but they also have Dante Pettis, who had a big week last week. Pettis had 12 fantasy points. Let's see. Wide receiver. Here we go. All players. So I can see what Garcon did, if anything. Pettis was the highest scoring San Francisco receiver last week. He had 12 fantasy points.
Okay.
What did Garcon do? Did he even hit double figures? I don't think he did. Garcon. He's way low down this list. Had 2 fantasy points.
Okay.
2.
Not so good.
He's on waivers in our league. That's how bad he is.
Buddy.
Yeah. Oh, is it Bring Your Dog Day to the park?
Okay.
I was gonna say, is it Bring Your Dog Day in Kansas City?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, looks like it. Bring Your Dog Day at the Royals game, or Bark in the Park, I think is what they call it.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so Garoppolo for me, QB2 play, but against that Lions shaky defense could be worth a look. And I mentioned Pettis. If Goodwin misses time with this hamstring issue, Pettis could be a potential wide receiver 3, so he could get a lot more work. Sits, Stafford. After a 5-pick performance against that Jets, not sure what to make of him. We got rid of him. Can't have a player like that on the team. And to me, he drops down from a must-start option to more of a risky QB2 until he can show that we'll have a game like that ever again. So just more of a risk right now. Kenny Golladay, not still high on him. Kind of the third wheel in this offense and a loaded receiving core. Just too much of a risk right now. Can't go with him. And the running backs in this game. I'm not high on the backs in this game because they're timeshare messes. The Niners avoid. It's a timeshare between Morris and Breida. You don't know who's going to get the majority of the work. So that's something you want to avoid until one guy emerges. And the Lions, they haven't had a 100-yard rusher in 5 years since Reggie Bush did it in 2013. That's all you need to know. They have a nice group there with LeGarrette Blount and Kerryon Johnson, the rookie, and Riddick, but they don't get enough. One doesn't get enough targets to be fantasy relevant, so it's a risk even playing them. So that's really all you need to know. Arizona is at the Rams. Not really a whole lot to say here. I mean, and I'm going to say this again about Arizona. Until the Cardinals start Josh Rosen, they're not going to be legit. I mean, Sam Bradford, injury prone, getting up there in age. Sam Bradford, journeyman bouncing around the league. Sam Bradford. I mean, and last week they got destroyed by Washington. So it's going to be a long season in the desert unless they go to the rookie. That's the way I see it because I think Rosen's a better player. And it really isn't getting any easier because now you're going up against one of the stingiest defense in the league, if not the stingiest in the Rams, who just took it to the Raiders on Monday night. The obvious plays here, there's only really a couple guys in the Cardinals. David Johnson at running back, Larry Fitzgerald wide receiver. Those really are the only two that you can really trust.
The White Sox do suck. They just got a double play on.
Told you. On a week-by-week basis. So those guys you can set and forget. For the Rams, though, you can start most of their weapons. Jared Goff at quarterback, Todd Gurley at running back, Robert Woods, the wide receiver, and Cooper Kupp, who is better in PPR leagues, but still very, very solid. The sit is Sam Bradford. As I said, I don't trust him. I especially don't against the Rams defense. Not a good matchup. So there's just a few there, but nothing outstanding. The AFC Championship game rematch showdown on 4/25 on Sunday with New England at Jacksonville. This is a juicy one as well. This could be a really good game. Should once again be a fun game. Both teams looked pretty solid in their openers. New England getting past Houston 27-20. Yeah. Jacksonville getting past the Giants 20-15. But now the question is going to be, can the Jags get the job done this time what they couldn't do in the AFC title game? They were one throw away from going to the Super Bowl. And
where was that?
That was in New England.
That might be your problem.
Right.
Because again, as I said with Green Bay and Chicago, I'll say it here too. Foxborough is one of the toughest places for an opponent.
Yes, to play. Yeah, but this one is in Jacksonville, so maybe this time it'll be different on their home turf.
Yeah.
Really, though, for this game, I mean, the Patriots, you really usually know who to start here. Tom Brady at quarterback, duh. Rex Burkhead at running back. He's the best of the bunch right now. James White might be a PPR play, maybe, but that's kind of a stretch depending on how he gets involved in the offense. We don't know when Sony Michel will be back from his knee injury, when he'll return. So he's a bit of a risk. And, of course, Gronk, you set and forget, duh.
Did you not have Dorsett on this list, or did he suck too?
I mean, Dorsett. Here's the thing, though, with the wide receivers, it's kind of a risk because is Dorsett going to do that again on a week-by-week basis? Is he going to be the guy? Because you've got him, you've got Hogan, you've got you've got other guys that they spread the ball around. Who's it going to be from week to week? That's the risk that you take.
Well, Tom Brady's usually good about feeding them. He's usually good about feeding his players. I think that's what makes the Patriots.
Well, then how do you explain Hogan's 1-point performance?
He wasn't fed. How many targets did he have?
5.
Hogan just sucks.
Yeah.
I say Hogan just sucks.
Yeah. We're giving him one more week on our bench. We're giving him one more week. If he hadn't produced this week, gonzo.
Look on my face says it all.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like what we do at ISU games,
Hey, well.
What we used to do at ISU games. Now they're starting to win some.
Although they got spanked.
But that was to be expected by Louisville. They hung around with Louisville. It took the fourth quarter for Louisville to pull away. They hung around until the fourth quarter. Got to applaud them for that. The Jags, there really aren't any obvious starts aside from TJ Yeldon, but that's only if Leonard Fournette does not play. Now, it's looking like that hamstring is going to keep Fournette out. He did not practice today, so it's looking more likely that he won't go. Yeldon will be a solid start, high-end RB2 with RB1 upside. And we mentioned we saw that video on the playbook when Yeldon made that play against the Giants, that little tiny hole to get the touchdown.
He's a little shrimp.
Yeah, but he made something out of nothing. And Yeldon is very reliable.
That hole was like an inch.
It was this. It was like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And he squeezed through that. So Yeldon is very reliable. So if Fournette can't go, get Yeldon in your lineups. Sits, Bortles, I can't be high on him here. You're going against New England. I understand you're at home, but
who's the backup quarterback if Bortles doesn't play, though?
Well, he's not injured, but I just see him as a risk because remember the Pats just shut down Watson, so that's where I'm
saying sit him as far as fantasy
because he's because of the matchup. A risky Q at low end QB2, maybe more like a QB3 though in the matchup. I mentioned Fournette, likely out, but even if he plays, he'll be very limited. I wouldn't rely on him. And then again, the wide receivers. For the Jags' perspective, there's no true number one. And it's kind of the case in both instances. Someone might break out in Marquise Lee's absence because he's done for the year with a torn ACL. But until then, you got Keelan Cole, Dede Westbrook, and Dante Moncrief all battling for targets. So you don't know who's going to emerge as the main threat. It's just too risky. Now, Cole, I'd say, has the most upside because he's the slot receiver, so his position is set. But then you don't know when Westbrook or Moncrief are going to be on the field at the same time. So Cole's like a dart throw 3 or 4. The other two right now are more like 4 or 5, so we figure out who's going to get the targets. And again, with the Pats wide receivers, with Julian Edelman still suspended till week 5, we don't know again which is going to take the lead here with Hogan or Dorsett.
And Moncrief is where now?
Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good boy. Didn't go to the Patriots like that traitor.
Dorsett. Yeah.
I'll watch Moncrief.
Yeah.
Don't know why they let him go. He was a good Colt.
He was. I met Moncrief. He was a cool guy.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You was lucky.
When the Colts in Motion came to Monticello a couple years ago. Yeah, I met him.
I don't know why.
I met him and
must have been out of town.
I think you were. I met him and Darius Butler. So they were cool.
Butler's good.
Yeah, so they were cool. And then that's where I got Blue to sign the copy of his book.
Yeah.
And when I actually met Trey Mock. I met him in costume and out of costume.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Trey Mock's a cool guy.
Trey Mock, the life of a horse.
Yes, his office is a blue costume. Yes. And again, I mentioned this on my on ATSD too. It was cool what they did at the mascot game this year when at the end when the mascots all got together and they came out and they surprised Trey Mock's wife for their anniversary.
Oh,
Did I tell you that?
I don't know.
No, right after the game was over, as everyone's getting pictures of everybody and what have you, all the mascots start bringing roses out and stuff, and then they come up to Trey's wife, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, what a surprise!" And then it's like, "Oh, happy anniversary!" And apparently everyone knew it was their anniversary, and so they all got a group picture with her. So it was cool. It was a cool moment.
Yeah,
that was cool. So
next year I'm gonna try to make that.
It's a fun time.
Softball game.
Yes, you did. Yeah. But Matt and I went this year, and it was a fun time.
I don't think I'm doing softball next year. I think I'm just going to go bowling.
Yeah.
And probably bowling and basketball and summer games.
Yeah. It's a fun time. Couple more games left. The other afternoon game Sunday is Oakland and Denver. Another division rivalry. Two teams that just don't plain like each other.
Yeah. As I believe Madden used to say, or was that Al Michaels?
It could be either one. Yeah. I forget which one said it. But so, yeah, John Gruden's debut did not exactly go swimmingly for Oakland after getting blown up by the Rams.
His second debut.
Right.
Wasn't he with the 49ers before or something?
No. He was with Oakland first, and then he went to Tampa, and beat Oakland in the Super Bowl with Tampa, and now he's back at Oakland again. So, but that was to be expected. You know, you're playing the Rams, tough opponent. That's to be expected.
Like you said, stingy defense.
Yes. But it doesn't get any easier now going up against Denver in Mile High on the road. Yeah. So, and they have plenty of weapons and, of course, a strong defense of their own with Von Miller on that pass rush. Still a couple guys, though, that I like. Raiders here, of course. Marshawn Lynch, running back, as long as he plays. There was a report today that he had an illness, so we want to monitor that throughout the week. But as long as he goes, you start him as you normally would. Yeah. I like their receivers still. Amari Cooper, Jordy Nelson. Still going to get probably plenty of targets from Derek Carr. And the Broncos secondary, remember, is not as strong as it used to be because Talib is now a Ram. So
that's why their defense is so stingy.
Right.
I can't believe it.
That's right. And Marcus Peters, the former Chief. Yeah. So their secondary got massively strong. Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't want to play the Rams either. For anyone who plays the Rams. This week for Arizona. Yeah, I feel bad for Arizona this week. So I still like that. And Jared Cook, the tight end. Usually tight ends do very well against Denver. So Jared Cook is a good play here. For the Broncos, Royce Freeman, the rookie, he's taken over the lead running back role and has looked very good in it. So I think you go with him as well. And the top two wide receivers, Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Case Keenum is getting a very good rapport going with them. So keep rolling with them. And I'll say start Case Keenum here. He looks like he's carried over his skill set from Minnesota. Still got plenty of weapons here. Normally a QB2, but against now the Macless Raiders, he has QB1 appeal, I think. Because the Raiders' D got shredded without Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Why did you not pay the man? Why?
Chicago did, and you see how that's
exactly. And it was at that moment that the Raiders knew that they had bucked up.
Yep.
And the other Bronco, though, keep this name on your radar. Philip Lindsay. Undrafted rookie out of Colorado. Go Buffs. Beat Nebraska last week. We watched the replay of that game today. It looks like the Broncos have found a new Thunder and Lightning pairing here. Forget about Devontae Booker. He's now forgotten. This guy is now the real deal in terms of a PPR dual threat. Freeman's still the guy to own, but fringe RB2-3 appeal for Lindsay, a great flex play, especially in PPR. If he's available in your league, get him now while you still can. Sits, I think in this game you have to sit Derek Carr. I know that's hard to do, but that pass rush of the Broncos is nasty. And he's even dealing with general soreness. That's what it said today on his injury report. General soreness after the loss of the Rams. Gee, I wonder why.
I mean, it's huge. You're going to be sore. It's football.
Coach Chucky, the Rams beat me up. I need a Band-Aid. I need a tissue.
It's football.
Right?
Men play football.
Right? So after that, to deal with general soreness, and now you got to play Von Miller and the Broncos. No thanks. You can do better than that. And then for the Broncos, another one, Cortland Sutton, another rookie. Wouldn't quite trust him just yet. It's nice to see him getting involved in the offense, but not quite ready for him yet. He's more the third wheel, more of a risky wide receiver 3 or 4. Primetime games. Sunday night, another division rivalry. Giants at Dallas.
Another battle of 0-1 teams.
Yes.
We're going to give here.
Yes. Always fun when these two get together. For the Giants, Saquon Barkley. He's the real deal. Our first-round draft pick, 18 fantasy points last week, including a 69-yard touchdown run. You want to watch that video because the way he slipped through Jacksonville defenders and making that touchdown run, beautiful. It's great to watch.
Yeah.
And, of course, Odell Beckham, still really good against tough cornerbacks. Made Jalen Ramsey look like a fool with over 111 yards last week. So expect more of the same against this Cowboys team who, to me,
who looked like a fool?
Jalen Ramsey, the Jags cornerback, who likes to talk smack.
Okay.
Did I tell you about the GQ magazine article that he did?
No.
Okay. I'll fill you in on this.
Jags cornerback?
Yes.
Okay.
So Jalen Ramsey is one of the better cornerbacks in the league, and he basically did this report in GQ where he was asked about all these quarterbacks, and he said,
"GQ stand for me."
I don't know. Girl questions.
General
questions. It could be. So they asked Jalen Ramsey, okay, what are your thoughts on some of the quarterbacks in the NFL? And he said, okay, I wonder if I can find that reference because that way I can actually give you quotes from the article. Because he talked about like a ton of quarterbacks. Yeah, I can pull this up for reference. Here we go. Jalen Ramsey has something to say about literally everyone. That's the headline of the article. So, because he's like a trash talker. Let's see. Where's the quarterback stuff? Here we go. Some thoughts on nearly every quarterback in the league, which starts when he tells me this year's NFL draft was a little off. How so? If all those teams were wanting Baker Mayfield so bad, the Browns' #1 pick, Baker compares better with Lamar Jackson than any of those other quarterbacks. So if they want that type of quarterback, confident, get out the pocket, throw on the run, big plays, charisma, then yeah, I understand Baker going #1. But if all the other people were competing and wanting Baker too, then why wasn't Lamar the second quarterback chosen instead of at the end of the first round? I think Bill's draft pick, Josh Allen, is trash. I don't care what nobody say. He's trash. And it's going to show, too. That's a stupid draft pick to me. We played them this year. I'm excited as hell. I hope he's their starting quarterback. He is now. So, Jalen, you got your wish.
Dude, learn how to talk right. I don't care what nobody say.
He played at Wyoming. Every time they played a big school, like they played Iowa State, which is not a big school in my opinion because I went to Florida State, and he threw 5 interceptions. They lost by a couple touchdowns or something like that. He never beat a big school. If you look at his games against big schools, it was always hella interceptions, hella turnovers. It's like, yo, if you're this good, why couldn't you do better? Yo. He fits that mold. He's a big, tall quarterback, big arms supposedly. I don't see it personally. But there's more. I would have picked Lamar Jackson earlier than 32. I think he's going to do a good job, especially with the Ravens offensive coordinator. He likes running quarterbacks, like that read option. And just being honest about it, Joe Flacco sucks. I played him 2 years in a row. He sucks.
Okay.
Who are the quarterbacks in your opinion who don't suck? Okay, so he was asked this. Aaron Rodgers does not. Tom Brady doesn't. I got to think now about all the teams. I think Marcus Mariota is a great quarterback for their team. I think Tyrod Taylor is actually a better quarterback than he gets credit for because he does not make mistakes.
And who is this?
This is Jalen Ramsey from Jacksonville.
Yo, Jalen Ramsey. Take a lesson from Tom Brady, who was asked who he thought
who he said doesn't suck.
The best, no, who he thought was the best quarterback. Are you better than so-and-so?
Aaron Rodgers. They got some compared to Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
They asked him on the herd if he thought he was better than Aaron Rodgers. This is what Brady said. He says, that's not for me to say. I'm going to leave that.
I'll let the sports media talk shows decide that.
I'm good for my system.
Yeah.
Rodgers is good for his system. Joe Montana was good for his system. He says, I think it matters on the system you're in.
Right.
I'm not going to say whether I think I'm better. I'll let you all debate that.
Right.
Dude over here, yeah. You need to,
Are you sold on the Jimmy Garoppolo hype?
Quiet your mouth.
I don't know yet. Just because when they beat us, his hype picked up. They were like, he beat the #1 defense. It was all schemes. He didn't beat us. It wasn't like he diced us up. It was literally all schemes. They were doing flat routes as a wide open fullback. He's running for 20 yards down the field 4 times during the game. So they didn't really dice us up. It was their fullback and their tight end on over routes. But if you know how to work within your scheme, then it means you're good. I guess you could say he's good. I got to go down the list of NFL teams if you want to make sure I'm hitting all the good quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson, he'll be the league MVP in a couple years. 100%. Not even a debate about that. Him and Carson Wentz, for every year starting now until 5 to 10 years, is going to be them two. They're that good.
And Carson Wentz
still hasn't been cleared for contact. Yeah.
Dude, you are outside your mind.
Jared Goff, he's average to above average. He reminds me of Garoppolo a little bit. Year 1, he wasn't good. Wasn't even good enough to earn his own starting role. Like, if you're the #1 pick, you expect him to start now. Baker Mayfield hasn't started yet. Period. He wasn't ready to do that. He wasn't able to do that. Then when he did get in, he didn't really do that good. But in the second year, they got a new offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator is just your brainiac. When we played them, it felt like his offensive coordinator was drawing up perfect plays, and he was hitting the open man. For what his team asked him to do, yeah, he's good. Dak Prescott, he's good. He's all right. He's okay. I'll put it that way. Zeke Elliott runs that team, though. Everything runs around Zeke. See, I agree with them on that regard. I think everything runs around Zeke in Dallas.
Yeah.
What about Kirk Cousins? I think he's good. I think he's a winner. He's a hell of a competitor. Coming off the play action, he's the best quarterback in the league. Play action passing, he's a hell of a quarterback. Derek Carr, I think he's good. Eli, it's not really Eli. I think it's Odell Beckham Jr. I won't say Eli's good. I'll say Odell's good, and their connection is good.
You are outside your mind.
Eli did win 2 Super Bowls. Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey.
I ain't saying this guy's out of it. I'm saying Jalen Ramsey out of it.
I think Russell Wilson is good. I think he's a really good leader too. Big Ben, I think he's decent at best. Decent at best. It's not Big Ben. It's Antonio Brown. Big Ben slings the ball a lot of the time. He just slings it, and receivers go get it. He has a strong arm, but he ain't all that. I played him twice last year. It really disappointed me. He'll be in the Hall of Fame and all that.
Newsflash. Jalen Ramsey is an ass.
What about your boy Blake Bortles? Will Blake do what he got to do? I think in crunch time moments like last year's playoff game, not as a team because we would have trusted him, but I think as an organization we should have trusted him more to keep throwing it. We kind of got complacent and conservative, and I think that's why we lost. We started running it on first and second down, throwing on third down every single time we were out there. The Patriots caught on to that. I can't fault him for that. Let's see. Nick Foles, he won him a Super Bowl, so he's good enough to do that. He had a hella good team, though, too. But as long as you can do what the team asks you to do, then you're straight. Like people say Blake sucks, but he took us to the AFC Championship game off strictly doing just what was asked of him. Not turning the ball over, running Leonard Fournette to death, letting defense get some turnovers, and putting us in a good field position to capitalize on. That was what we asked him to do. Playoff Blake is good. People can say whatever, but playoff Blake is good.
Man, who is this guy? Cornerback?
He's the cornerback. Matthew Stafford, I think he's straight. I don't think he's the best quarterback out there, but he do what he got to do.
What is up with these? Oh, my gosh. You are in the NFL. Learn how to talk.
Drew Brees. I'm a fan of Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees is really good, even at this age. He still runs everything. Andrew Luck. I don't really think he's that good. Him and T.Y. had a connection in the past and made him stand out a little bit more, but I don't think he's good. Who's the Miami quarterback? Ryan Tannehill. I don't know much about him. I haven't heard the greatest of stuff about him, and I don't know him personally, so I can't tell you. I don't watch their games either. Phillip Rivers, I think he's pretty good. What's the Atlanta quarterback's name? Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan's overrated. He called Matt Ryan overrated. You can't tell me you won MVP 2 years ago, and then last year you were a complete bust, and you still got Julio Jones? There's no way that should ever happen. I don't care. You know what that tells me? That tells me that offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan left, went to San Francisco, got Garoppolo, made Garoppolo this big thing, and now Garoppolo is a big name. And now Matt Ryan has this bad year? All right, well, was it really you or was it your coach? He was doing what was asked of him and was making him look really, really good. So I think that's all the quarterback stuff. Yeah.
I think I've heard enough.
But yeah. So there you go.
So yeah, now
Jalen Ramsey's take on quarterbacks.
Who are they playing?
Who? Jacksonville? They're playing New England this week.
I hope. Honestly, this makes me sick to say, but I hope New England wipes the floor with you.
Well, he said Tom Brady didn't suck, so.
Oh, you're talking? Come on.
Right.
Talk now.
Right.
After a 40-point blowout or something, you know?
So we went off on that tangent, but it was warranted. But Giants, Dallas, Giants obvious, they're a weapon. Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham.
Yep.
Sterling Shepard and PPR a little bit better, but he's still a very good target. And Evan Ingram, their tight end. For the Cowboys, it's like he said, the offense goes around Zeke Elliott. Huh?
Mark Ingram? No,
spelled differently.
Spelled different.
I-N-G-R-A-M, not E. Yeah. For the Cowboys, Zeke Elliott's really the only one that you can really trust.
Because you dropped Des Bryant. How's that working out?
Yeah, again, getting rid of people. How's that going? Yeah, how's that going? Yeah. Dallas's receiving core is like the thinnest in the NFL. Like Allen Hurns, Cole Beasley, Michael
they
Gallup.
Are desperate. 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 sodas for $49.
Yeah.
They are desperate.
Yeah.
White Sox are desperate for fans.
Yeah.
Well, that'll happen when you suck.
Right. Starts, though, I think you can start Eli here.
Yes.
Defense-wise, I think world beaters against Carolina. Still a nice amount of weapons. Decent QB, too. Sit Dak Prescott. Again, thinnest receiving core in the NFL. Can't start him. Can't start the receivers. And finally, the Monday night game. Seattle at Chicago.
Defense.
Yeah. Huge. Like we said, like we've been talking about, Khalil Mack showed he's the real deal against the Packers, even though they let that lead slip away. But now
Field is another one to another hard place to
But
play
now
too.
another tough test against Russell Wilson. Can they pass the test this time around?
At Soldier, I think so. Honestly, I think so.
I hope so. Obvious for Seattle.
I doubt that they're going to score a stinking 0.
Right. Yeah, I doubt that too. Yeah,
Even if it is Seattle.
Yeah,
they're at Soldier Field. I don't think they're going to score a stinking 0.
0. New Orleans. Seahawks, though, obvious. Brandon, the receivers, Doug Baldwin will likely be out multiple weeks with this knee issue. So a couple of the guys got to step up. Brandon Marshall has stepped up nicely in his absence. He's now a good start. Same with Tyler Lockett, more so in PPR, but he's stepping up nicely. I think they're both solid plays here. For the Bears, the running backs we mentioned that I like, Jordan Howard, of course, and Tariq Cohen, again, more so PPR. Hopefully they get him more involved in the passing game, but still a solid play. Allen Robinson, the top guy. I still think he's going to get a lot of targets, and Trey Burton, the tight end. I will say here that Mitchell Trubisky is kind of a sneaky start. The dominating defense days of the Seahawks, those days are over, and Trubisky made some decent plays against Green Bay last week. You could do worse as your QB2, but there's upside, especially at home. And then the sits, I think you're seeing then the rest of the Seahawks.
I'm surprised you didn't say start the Bears defense.
Well, yeah, but I think that's a given. Russell Wilson, and I know it's a major risk to sit him, but after what the Bears defense just did to Rodgers, he becomes a very risky play. It comes at the price, and if you think in the end the reward will outweigh the risk with him, then by all means you can roll the dice. But to me, just a very, very risky QB2, not a must start this week. And I mentioned again, Baldwin out for multiple weeks with that knee issue. And then also the Seahawks running backs. No clear winner right now, kind of muddy backfield. Don't know who's going to get the start between Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, CJ Prosise. So I would avoid that situation for now. All right, everyone. That covers the spectrum. That is it for week 2 this week. If you have any other questions, please feel free to hit up the comment box below. We will try to get to them as much as we can throughout the week. Go out there, put out the best lineup you can, and get that W in week number 2. And we will be back next week to preview week 3 for you. So
hopefully with a win.
Hopefully with a win for us too. I'm hoping we need it. We need it really bad as well. We do. We need it.
I'd say so.
So for Nate Hettinger, I am Spikey Dash. We will see you next week for the week 3 preview. We are out.